Uh, Thank you, everybody, for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about continuous performance. Um, and I think, Chandra, you're going to start off with talking a little bit about, or is that me, about the company? Oh, no, that's me. um, I am Nikki Kimball. I'm the solution architect here at Intellius. I have been working with Lawson/Infor for over 20 years. Um, with obviously starting off with Lawson, I think I started with 7.2 and HR Talent when it came out. When it was called LTM, I got the first training on it, and I've been working with that ever since. I do have experience in all different lines of business. Healthcare has been the main source, but that's kind of switching now, which is nice. And my specialization is payroll. Like that's my background. I came as a payroll manager, but I have implemented almost every module within S3 and HR Talent. So I live in New Hampshire. So in the summer, I like to hike, and in the winter, I like to bake. So it get the house warm when I do that. So thanks everybody for joining me. That's a little bit about me and about Intellius. Is this you, Chandra, or should I go ahead and do this?
You can go ahead, keep going.
Okay. All right. So Intellius was established in 1999. We're an Infor Alliance partner, and we have Infor and AWS certified consultants. We do a lot of consulting services, migrations, upgrades. We started early on focusing on the technical, and recently we're working on a lot of the functional areas, which is great. New module implementations, technical and functional application support, system administration. We can do, the tech side of the installation and all the upgrades. And then where I come in is the HR talent, and we've got a financials and supply chain group as well. So we're very well rounded. Software offerings. There's Intellius has developed some payroll automation and expense management softwares. So there's a lot of stuff about Intellius. If you have any questions, let Chandra and I know. But today we're going to talk about continuous performance. And if you do have a question, either raise your hand or put your question in the chat. Chandra will interrupt me, and I have no problem being interrupted, so we can make sure we get the question that's relevant on the screen as well. So I will start off. This is the agenda for today. We're going to talk about how to enable it. There's three main parts to continuous performance: Raves, pulse surveys, and check-ins, and we'll talk about the differences and how to set those up on a high level. If you want, you can save your questions to the end too, but I'm open to answering them at any time. So, overview of continuous performance. It's becoming more common to take the performance schedule out of the normal annual performance and kind of do check-ins, quarterly check-ins with your managers. What it does is it builds a better relationship and ongoing, a proactive conversation. This way, at the end of the year, when the performance comes, the employee is not surprised with the feedback that they get. You can use this as standalone or in conjunction with performance appraisals. If you have performance appraisals in a different way or a different format, you can do these check-ins or do a lot of this continuous performance as standalone. And it's kind of tricky because it's called continuous performance engagement in some documentation. In the system, and it is called employee recognition, but it's also called employee engagement in different places. So it's all the same thing. It's just engaging the employee and recognizing them for their work. It's a continual process. I think as the workforce ages or we get the young people in the workforce, they are more looking forward to that continual process, more engagement. And this is a offering that helps with that. If the feedback occurs more often, it becomes natural for the manager and the employee to talk about ongoing workplace topics, and it encourages a better relationship. So it's got a lot of facets to it, but there's three ways to do it: Raves, pulse surveys, and check-ins, and we'll talk about those individually. So how to enable continuous performance. If you go on the organization in the structure of an administrator, there's just a flag that says enable employee recognition. Again, you see the change in title there. There is some configuration parameters. I know you may not normally deal with this, but it's a reminder. If you go out there, enable the recognition, and you don't see them, this is why. You have to go, or have someone maybe technical go to configuration parameters and set these values to true for check-ins and pulse surveys. Raves are going to show up automatically, but these two do have to have this. So if you're on your own and you're out there, this is why you won't be able to see it, even if it's checked. So you may need to get some help in the configuration parameters. It's in Administration Console. If you have that, great, you can just flip those flags. Once that flag is flipped on the company or on the organization, a new tab shows employee engagement or a new menu item. And this is what it looks like, obviously, once the configuration has been set up for true. So you can see Raves, pulse surveys, and check-ins here now. And here's the dashboard, very basic. You also will need to have the security role of employee recognition to see this menu item. That's the only role you need. So let's look at the new web app toggle. I was looking at this so this weekend a new CU comes out. It is changing. You can toggle on, toggle off a lot of this functionality, but depending on your organization, it's changing the way some of the menus look. And I did want you to show this because in the future, if you do toggle on the web app changes for performance, it shows it in a different place. So you can see there's going to be a new performance tab or menu item instead of it being under administrator, and it is under recognition, and all the tabs here cover all the different views. So it potentially will look different if you do enable the web app toggle for performance. Just a little difference. I did want to show you that. It's kind of neat because it keeps it all in one place. So in order to use this functionality, you do have to create an engagement year, and it's pretty similar to the performance appraisals. If you have performance appraisals, you have to say what's the time period for the appraisal. This is just another setup, another year for these three functionalities. Set up the engagement year. Normally, it would be the exact same as the performance year. But again, you can use it individually or without the performance appraisals. You just got to make sure it's active. So Raves, what are Raves? Raves actually stand for something. It's remarkable acknowledgement of values and engagement. I just thought it was a rave about another employee saying, yay, good job, but it does stand for that. It's also known as employee recognition. It generated from the employee level. So an employee could create a rave for another employee. And they can create personalized raves, but there are categories that you can create or designated. You can say these 5 things that the employees can pick from. I'll show you some examples, or they can write their own. So to create a rave to make it available for the employees, you create a recognition program, and I'll show you some screenshots here in a minute. Create a recognition category, and then say this is a rave. Select it as a rave program. So that way it shows up to the employees as a rave. And then you have to assign the engagement period. So you know what period this is for. Let me see. Okay. Let me just show you the screen here. So with a rave, this is the administrator view. So in the setup, in the configuration, you can create a rave program. And here are the categories. So the categories are what are selected by the employees, right? So this, I think, was a lot similar to mission statements, like what some of the missions were for the employees for an example company. And then first you create the program. So you have to do this annually to make sure the dates line up. You can just copy one year to the next, and that will copy the categories and everything with it. And then you have to make sure it's open, because you can before the year end, when you're getting ready for next year, you can open it in preliminary and flip the flag when 1/1 comes around. So this is a little description for the employer. This is actually instructions on how to use it. And then you jump back here, and I think here's in the configuration. Go to the dashboard. Oh, here it is. Yep. So, and then you sign the engagement period. So you create the engagement period and you assign the engagement period. If this got me a couple of times, I created the engagement period, I did everything else, but I never assigned it to the employee. And that's what this does. This pretty much opens it up for the employee. I have on several occasions forgotten to do this and can't figure out why the employee can't see it, but that is why. So you have to assign it. After you've created it and made it active, you got to make sure you assign it to everybody. Any questions so far? Great. So this is the process. So the employee submits the rave in employee space, and then the employee supervisor will be notified. The supervisor will receive a notification when a direct report has a rave. So the employee of the manager that is receiving the rave is who gets notified. And the manager can even enter additional names. So if they know other people that say worked on the project and contributed as well, and then they can submit the rave. It's almost like an approval. Optionally, the supervisor can meet with the employees to discuss and celebrate, or you can bring it up in the monthly meetings, or you can send an email to the team. So that, that item is up to the organization. And then at the end of the year, when the performance appraisals are reviewed, the managers can use the rave feedback as input for that. So from the administrative point of view, the administrators can view the rave dashboard to see who submitted, what status they're in, who they're sitting with, if the managers approved it or not. If the employee submits a rave that needs to be changed. So say the employee wants to recall it or add more information or add another person. The only way to do it is to delete it and resubmit it. And the problem right now is only the administrator can delete it. So once it's in process, it's only the administrator that can delete it, and the employee can restart it again. So that's kind of a piece that the administrator's involved in. And here is the employee view, and I'm just going to go right to that screen so we can take a look. All right, so right now it shows up for the employee under engagement, or you could here click the engagement. And you got to make sure you pick the right year, because the dashboard will change based on the year. So you can see where you've received a rave or what you've submitted. So I'm just going to say I'm going to submit one. You got to pick an employee. Don't know. And then the employee can see the recognition categories, and those are the categories that you can celebrate people with. So these are the high level ones, but they can write in more comments. They can even put an attachment if they want to. And that will flow with this rave. You can save it as draft, come back later, or you can add names to notify. So your comments will be shared with direct managers, and then you can share it with other people as well. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. So you can do it for multiple employees and notify multiple people as well. So let me see if I submit. So it shows up here. If I open it from here, it just says who's recognized. So you can come back and see what comments you wrote for each person. That is Raves. I was hoping to have a rave for myself, but let me go into manager and see. Engagement. It's all the way down here. So it's going to bring you to the dashboard. This is the manager view. So you pick your person. Carol King has some. Here you go. So Carol King has received a rave. Let's see what it looks like in here. So this is very limited, but it does say exactly what was submitted. So that is the employee view from the manager. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. So, like we said, the employee can see raves received, raves submitted. This is what we looked at to complete it. Again, this is team raves by employee from the manager view. This is the manager view up here. And there's the admin view. So the admin can view by employee, by program, so that would be by year, by category if they wanted it that specific. So anybody who had a project related rave, or I've even had a client do a happy birthday. I mean, just as hey, let's give someone a happy birthday, so it can be seen in the system and see who's celebrating other employees. And you can see most recognized employees, history by employee, that would be previous years, and history by program. So those two are previous years history. This is all current. Any questions about raves? Okay, great. There is some in the, I don't know if I can get there. In the let's see, manager, there's prettier on these workspaces. There's some prettier widgets available for these. I didn't get those set up, but from an employee or a manager, you may be able to get a prettier view and a prettier way to create a rave. Quick actions. It brings you to the same screen, but there are some widgets here as well if you're looking for that kind of information, or for a way to present it to the employees if that's how you use stuff. So get out of there. Go back here. And I think next we will talk about pulse surveys. What is a pulse survey? It is a way to provide feedback from employees. So for any type of employee, administrators can create a pulse survey, but a manager can also request a pulse survey to get information as well. So the responses can be used by managers or the administration to increase team collaboration, to get answers about training, or it's pretty limited because it's very specific, right? It's not like a generic training survey you can send out. It is specific. It would be, hey, you went this training? It can be done by employee group, and employees and managers can answer the surveys that are only assigned to them, and managers can review responses. And they're not anonymous. Got to remember that. So managers can see who said what. So what's part of the setup for pulse surveys? It's the questions library, the list of questions, and then the program. So you create a program, you attach the questions to it, and then you create an employee group that you want to send it to. Pretty similar to the way, I don't know if you've set up performance, but it's like you have the questions below, you have the eligibility group, and then you have the dates which I've seen is a lot shorter. Usually they have, a few weeks or a month to answer, and then you view who the employees are in this. And then I've seen it as a project ends, how did it go, teamwork, how did the project manager do, that kind of thing, or training, or a general pulse of the group, which is, I think, with the intention, which is more of how's everybody feeling, company morale, that kind of thing. Depending on how you want to use this is pretty flexible because you can create your own questions. So once you distribute it to the employees, it'll come out as a pulse survey that they need to respond to. And this is what the response looks like. It's just a blank space for them to write. They can say it's complete and hit submit. Very straightforward. This is the manager view. So you can see the employee, you select the employee at the top, and then you select the question at the bottom to see their response. I have one open or not. So I want to go to the manager, pulse survey. Okay, here's somebody who responded. I guess that same person. Let's go view it. Very basic response. This person just put yes. So, and this one was, do you have a clear understanding of your career promotion path, right? That's pretty basic. You can use these in conjunction with performance appraisals, the annual performance appraisals. Have you been reaching your goals? Do you want to change your goals? So that way you can have some pre-answered questions before you get in the room with your employee. Very, very versatile. And you can get information fast as long as the employee, oops, that's the wrong way. As long as the employee sees the pulse survey and is ready to respond, you can send emails as well saying, hey, you have a pulse survey out there, please answer it, or a notification. And the pulse survey programs from the administrator point of view, very basic. Setup, question library, and the programs. And then once you're in the employee program, you can see the program, and then you can see the responses from the employees here. You can report on these. You can get these out into Excel pretty easily and sort them so you can see them a little better. This looks a little clunky to me if you want to be eyeballing everybody's response, but it's easy to get anything in CSV. That'll line them up easier if you're just focused on the response. Neat. Any questions about pulse surveys? And then the last topic is check-in. This is the most common one I see used, check-in. It's just a period, it's a recording, pretty much, not I say recording, just, hey, this is the date, this is what we talked about, of the quarterly check-in that happened in a lot of organizations, or even if it's twice a year, or even if it's one-off conversations that you want to document. Managers can discuss employee development engagement throughout the year. Employees and managers can track those conversations and accomplishments. So this is how you set up the employee check-in. You can set a default period if you want. There's a threshold. You can, if you need to. I have only seen this once with getting a custom scale or a rating scale involved in this. How it went. You want to grade something within that conversation, but it's normally just we talked. Here's some of the things we talked about. And you can, in this engagement, You can display the accomplishments, challenges, or tasks that you have assigned or talked about in there, if that's something your organization wants to track. Meeting categories, manager check-in. This could even be an HR check-in if you just wanted to have HR check-in on say, new hire employees in their first 90 days, or peer-to-peer check-ins as can be done in here as well on a manager level. So this is what the manager check-in view looks like. This is assuming potentially they have this open while they're talking to the employee, or fill it out right after. What did we talk about? What the date was? Any other information about the resource that you want, accomplishments or challenges, and down at the bottom is tasks that you are assigning or are tracking for that employee. Pretty simple. Again, here's the employee view, and it's just the only thing you have to do for the employee is acknowledge that they had that check-in. They can bring it up with the manager that they don't like the notes if they don't want to, but it's all outside the system. That this is just an acknowledge, and they can put their notes in that saying, hey, we talked about one more thing that you didn't document, or even say, I don't necessarily agree with this or something. You could, there's a place for notes, but it's straightforward. Acknowledge it, and then comments, and then it sits here for review. Again, this can be used independent of performance appraisals, or can be used as well. These are always out there. You can look, the manager can look back at these check-ins and see how they went for people assigned to them. Oh, and boy, we reached the end. That was pretty quick. I went through a lot of information, but this should help you if you want to start using any of these Raves check-ins or pulse surveys. And as always, Intellius is here to help. So if you have any questions, or if you want more information about any of this, or you want to implement it and you need some help, just reach out. We also have webinars out there on YouTube. This will be put out there eventually as well. We follow us on LinkedIn. We make announcements about these webinars, about information you may be interested in. Oops. And I went back to the beginning. Sorry. There you go. Now it's showing a black screen there. I apologize. And all our information is down there. Email me personally if you have any questions. It's right on the bottom here. Or Chandra, I know she sent out the invite. And thank you very much for attending today. Chandra, anything?
No, yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And if you have questions, you can reach out to us at any of these addresses. We'll also be sending out the recording, so you can also follow up with us when we send that out. So thank you, Nikki, and thank you everyone for joining.